How's it going, everyone? Hope you're having a good one so far. We're going to do a quick video on my cleansing protocol or my cleansing formula, however you want to think about it. If it has been a while since you have done any cleansing in your space, your temple space, your practice space, or even your house in general, there is a relatively effective protocol that I use. You don't have to do all this. Most of you probably won't want to do all of this most of the time. But I'm going to start with the full version for those of you who are feeling froggy and you actually want to do a really good cleansing of your space. Now, keep in mind, use all four elements. Okay? That's the shortcut. That's the video for some of you. Now, for the rest of you, I also mean use all the elements internally and externally. So often I ask people, what is your relationship with the elements? And they will tell me like, oh, they're using them in their practice. They're invoking them. They're evoking them. They're scrying. Well, that's not the best example because that is sort of internal. But the elements do have external purchase, external utility, but they also have internal utility as well. So I'm going to describe this process using the elements, using the Trinity, so to speak, as well. And by Trinity, I mean like mercury, salt, sulfur, not like the Holy Trinity, the Tria Prima. So now we have the full protocol or whatever, which for me uses a 3-step process. So 3 is obviously very magical for a lot of you. So doing a triple cleansing of your space is already going to be super effective. But the way that this works is we use salt water, we use incense, and then we use sound and vibration. So we're cleansing this, like you can do this to your whole house or you can do this to just your space. But it's going to get cleansed 3 times at once. So the first thing that you can do is I have like this little jar of full moon water that I have. That's funny. There is apparently some loose water on the rim there. So we'll get a little bit more cleansing done here. I have this jar of water that was sat under a full moon, which, whatever, that means something to me. It doesn't have to mean anything to you. You can do whatever you want, but have some kind of water. And then what I do is I take three finger pinches of sea salt and I dissolve it into the water. So you'll notice while we are just cleansing the first time through with this salt water, we have earth and water that are cleansing. And the cool thing about this is when you flick the water, a lot of times it will evaporate, leaving salt crystals that are just flying through the air. John Michael Greer, actually, I believe, is the one who sort of put me onto that idea. I had been using salt water, but I hadn't thought about how some of the particles are evaporating and just crystallizing into the air potentially. But you're going to use salt water, and you can use oil as well if you want. You can put some essential oil in there or whatever. But then I have this. If you want to use this one, you can. This is a sigil that I made for cleansing using the letters CLEANSE. So, and it also looks like there's some sort of like magical stave that's breaking a sword, which was entirely, I didn't even realize that until after I made the sigil and I looked down at it and I saw this like magical stave breaking a sword, which could be seen as harmful energy sent toward me. Anywho, so salt water. I do three finger pinches of salt of sea salt. You can use kosher salt if you want to because it comes with a very magical symbol on it already. So, salt water. And then what I do is I stick 3 fingers into the water like this. And then I take those 3 fingers like this and flick them 3 times. And then I dip again as I'm walking through. And then I flick 3 times with 3 fingers. And this will cleanse. There are different things that are nasty that will be cleansed differently by different elements. So the things that are cleansed and absorbed better with earth and water are taken care of then. Then what we do is we go through with incense. And this can be an incense that you have made, an incense that you have bought. This can be stick incense or charcoal, pulped incense. But in this second cleansing out of 3, in the second cleansing, incense can be seen as representing fire and wind, or air, if that's your thing. So we've cleansed the space with salt water. Now we're coming through with incense. One thing that I like to do, how do I explain this? So if we have a 3-dimensional space, if we have a 3-dimensional space and it's a small area, like one room, like if I'm just cleansing one room, I will actually, how well is this going to show up? I will actually form a grid with the smoke, and I will come through the room going like this with the actual stick of incense. And a lot of times I'll hold it with my thumb, which to me represents Mars, and the middle finger, which to me represents Saturn. So I will hold the stick of incense like this, or whatever, if I'm using something else. And I will actually make an X, Y, Z like grid, and then like this is not showing up very well, I understand, but you're gonna top, bottom, front, back, side to side. You're gonna length with height with the actual burning ember and the smoke of the incense. And this does have an energetic impact on the space. That has an actual energetic vibrational impact on the space. Now, you can also, while you're doing both of these, you do the salt water and the incense. This is where using the elements internally comes into play as well, because you're going to, so earth and water, you're making gestures and you're doing things physically. But then you're also going to be doing astral visualizations of the negative or harmful things being dissipated, okay? Then you're also going to be wind and fire, doing breath work essentially, and energy work, right? Raising your energy, projecting it out into the space to push it. And another suggestion, open your windows and doors when you're cleansing with projective elements. Otherwise, you're just typically or potentially chasing the thing around the house instead of actually pushing it out. You're going to use the 4 elements internally. So we have physical things being used. We have visualizations being used. Fire is the energy work. And then the wind, you can actually recite mantra or some sort of psalm or prayer if that's your thing. So we're using all 4 elements externally and internally to cleanse the whole space through the first and second times. The third time we come through, we can use something like a singing bowl, which can be rung a specific number of times if you want to, and then you can let it resonate in the space, or you can just like actually ring it as you're walking around, still repeating the mantra. And I repeat the mantra through all 3 phases. Whatever mantra I'm using, I have a specific one that relates to rinsing things of impurity that comes from my personal Twilight tongue. If you want to use it, it's Dragodrefein, Ekorindinal, Roaf, Driekik Foden. If you want to use that, feel free. Or you can, there are like tuning forks and things that you can. So like typically I will ring it with my middle finger, as that is banishing of Saturn. So that's up to you if you want to use a singing bowl, or if you want to use a tuning fork or something. Keep in mind also, if you are externally vibrating the mantra, that works for sound as well. But essentially, we're cleansing the space 3 times with all 5 elements, internally and externally. This has such an effect on your space. It is a very, very good. Is it the best cleansing protocol out there? Maybe not. But as far as I can tell, it uses all the elements internally, externally, and it uses the idea of the tria prima. We have salt and like the actual like materials and things. We have sulfur, which is the passion and the energy of the cleansing, and then we have mercury, which is the sigils and the mantra and things like that being used. So this will cleanse not only your space and all of these fields, but it also cleanses your fields internally as well. It's a remarkable thing. If you want to try to use it, go ahead. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns below. And enjoy the rest of your day or evening. And yeah, take care. Hope to see you in the next one.